What do you say to the family of someone who lost a loved one? What do you say to the mother of someone who lost a son? We're going to talk about that today on St. Louis in Tune. Welcome to St. Louis in Tune, and thank you for joining us for fresh perspectives on issues and events with everyday people who are making a difference in our society and world. I'm Arnold Stricker, along with co-host Mark Langston, who is on assignment. Our return to civility today is when you see a friend who's feeling down, go out of your way to lift their spirits. Someone just noticing that someone is down is helpful in and of itself. And that's especially true today. Maria Holmes is our guest. Maria, welcome to St. Louis in Tune.
Thank you so much for having me.
You have endured something that many people have lived through over the course of time, and one thing that parents never want to ever think about is burying their child and having to look over their body in a casket and deal with the aftermath. And that's really what I want to talk with you about. I have one main question for you.
Okay.
What advice do you have for people who have been through what you've been through?
Okay, so the most important thing that I will let the other people know that have lost somebody that they love so much is to always embrace it, embrace the pain, but also embrace the memories, treasure them, live the moment that you had with them and the moment that you live in now, but cherishing their love, sharing their memory, and also keeping their voice and work alive.
And how do you do that?
By sharing your story with others, by helping others. There's so many people that I have helped by sharing my story because they were at the point of anger, anxiety, sadness, hopefulness when they lost somebody.
Tell us about that story. Let's go back to the beginning. You're the author of a book called Connections, Making the Most of the Moment. It is a journey of love, heartbreak, forgiveness, family, faith, and joy. Let's start at the beginning. You're from Colombia.
I'm from Colombia, South America. Yes.
Not the Columbia, Missouri.
No. Colombia, that. South America, yes.
Okay,
yes.
And you came here when?
We came to this country in 1969.
Okay.
Yes. And it was a beautiful experience because we did not know what it was going to be like going to a new country. And to experience the snow for the first time was such amazing. And the culture and the food that we never had before. It just opened our minds even bigger to appreciate what we have before and what we have now. Mm. To enrich somebody's life is the best.
And you got here into the St. Louis area with your family?
Yes, I came with my father and my mother and my 3 sisters and my 4 brothers.
And
my aunt.
Did you speak English at the time?
Well, my father had gotten us a teacher back in Colombia, an American boy that we thought he was the coolest guy because he wore tennis shoes. And we thought, whoa. So, yes, we're taking classes. So we thought, yeah, we're ready. Little did we know when we arrived at the airport and we heard all the people speaking in English, we thought, wow, do we really know the language? It took time.
Right.
It took time to learn it. Yes.
So you went to school, and how old were you again?
I was 12.
You were 12, okay.
And so they have told my parents, my dad's a doctor, a psychiatrist.
Okay.
So they told my parents that they will have a home for us to stay. Little did we know that the home was going to be on the 5th floor of the state hospital.
Oh, wow.
It was an amazing experience, too.
I bet you have some stories.
I do.
That would fill another book.
Exactly. But it taught us a lot about humanity.
Right.
It taught us how to really care for others. It's not just about us. And that's what I want to emphasize on my book. Because my son loved humanity so much.
Was that something you got from your parents or from the experiences that you had living here in the States?
Both.
Okay.
Both. I saw my father taking care of a lot of people in my country. Mm-hmm. Out of his heart. Yes, I want to continue doing that and to see my son, how much he helped others. Let me give you an example. We met this girl and this guy. And she's like, this guy, I don't like him. I don't want him to be my boyfriend. I don't want nothing to do with him. But Andrew worked with us. And now we're getting married on Andrew's birthday.
Wow.
Now they have 2 children. Yes. And then also, I have a grandson. And he was being bullied. Okay? And his parents went to talk to the principal. They didn't get nowhere. But my son went. He says, I'll take care of this. And the principal said, you're not a family member. You're just the uncle. Okay, so my son walked away and had Andrew, they have the same name, to show him the boy that was not treating him nicely. So he did, and my son just had a talk with this boy. Just had a good, positive talk of affirmation, but also you need to come to an agreement of how you're going to treat others. That was the last time my grandson was bullied.
Wow.
Do you see what I mean? Connection, making the most of the moment, such a powerful word, especially at these times when there's just a lot of anger, there's a lot of disagreement at home, at school, at work. It's a time that we need to come together to make connections, to make memories, to make dreams.
And what you're saying is something that doesn't happen overnight.
It does not happen overnight.
It has to be, because obviously he learned that by watching you and your husband.
Yes.
And he learned that also by watching his older sisters.
Yes.
And so he was developing that and taking that all in. And many times atmospheres in families are not that, what I would call, congenial. Some of them are hostile families.
Yes.
There's hostility within a family. So what do you suggest as it relates to that?
Okay, so no family is perfect.
That's correct.
No family is perfect. And we all come from different families. And we're all different. Okay? And every family is going to have the ups and downs. My family is not perfect. Believe me, we have a lot to say about my family. But the main thing, the most important thing, is that we are united, even though we're different. And we try to work that out.
Now, when you say united, explain that a little bit.
United. Family have to work together as a team.
Okay.
They have to work together as a team, meaning that you might ask questions like, how do you feel? What will you do? Instead of saying, this is what you need to do. This is what we need to do. No. You combine the difference to come to an agreement. My daughter, who is a nurse, and my other daughter, who is disabled, okay? They were so good to my son, so good. We always had people in our homes, always. That was a lot. It meant a lot to us to be helping others.
And a lot of times when other people come, like their friends, they feel that this is a comfortable atmosphere to be in. Plus, you can watch your kids too.
Yes.
If your kids feel are comfortable having their friends over, that's even
better.
Speaks more highly.
Yes. I'm glad you brought that up because I'm not from this country. Not learn another culture it takes time.
Right.
It takes time. When I had my children, I said to my husband, I am not taking my kids to no daycare or babysitters. I became the daycare mother for the school district in Kirkwood. I raised many children in my home. 6 o'clock in the morning till 6 o'clock at night.
Wow.
Okay? And I was the mother, the room mother. I was the Girl Scout mother. I did everything together. And if the kids wanted to go somewhere, I'm the one that did all the driving. They wanted to spend the night, they spend the night in my home. All the different kids. I was always involved in the community, serving and helping. And I did it in my home or taking them to their sports or their activities.
And even helping the community by teaching adults Spanish.
Yes. Yes, I'm a Spanish teacher, so I do teach because I want to enrich the children's world. I taught the adult level for 17 years, and I've been teaching Spanish since the 90s. Okay, many schools, also privately, but I also teach the heritage, the food, the dancing. Right now, I'm teaching my 4-year-old children how to do the cumbia. The cumbia is the #1 dance of my country. And what does the cumbia means? It means relationship. Okay? It talks about the people of my country. It talks about the Indians, the Africans, and the Spaniards. Through our dances, we're telling you a story.
Wow. Now, are you familiar with the International Institute of St. Louis?
A little bit.
Okay. So were you involved, or were your parents involved with them when you came over from Colombia?
No.
Okay.
We were involved with that store that's over here. It's a Spanish store.
Okay.
La Tropicana.
Okay.
Yes.
So really, other than the university kind of supporting your father and the rest of the family, there was really no home-based group or friends that were over here or other relatives?
No.
You guys were over here by yourself then?
Yes. Yes, and it was very difficult for my mother.
It's pretty scary.
Very scary. Yes, very scary, because we didn't know. And we went to school to Holy Innocents. Okay. That was our first school. Okay? So we had to walk to the school in the snow. And
that was a new experience.
Very new, because it's so different. And then in the afternoons, they will take us out of the classes to teach us how to speak English and how to read English. You know what kind of books they used? Dr. Seuss' book.
Really?
Yeah. And I'm like, what? That's not a really good book, okay? Because there's just a lot of different language in the way they speak.
Right.
Yes.
It's not something that is normal conversational
It's not.
English.
Not at all. Not at all.
Now, if you go to some place and they talk like that, we'll have to wonder.
Yes, exactly.
It's Dr. Seuss land.
Yes, yeah. It was an experience, especially when we had our first lunch. Mm-hmm. And there was another doctor from my country living at the hospital too. So they brought us groceries, and they're like, okay, we're going to make your lunch. And they brought this can of soup. And we're like, can? You mean there's soup in a can? No. How can that be? All of us were in a circle looking at this can of soup. In my country, everything is homemade.
Right.
It's homemade. And then they say they're going to make us a sandwich from this jar of peanut butter. It was something so new to us that it really enriched our life. It really opens our minds. You get so comfortable where you're at that you don't know what's out there, and you appreciate even more.
And I get from your book that your faith, not only family, but faith is very important to you.
Faith is very important. And that is the high 3 points I want to get across my book. It is love, faith, and hope. Yes. Can I share another story?
That's actually scriptural.
It is. It is God.
Faith, hope, and love, but the greatest of these is
God's love.
Love, right.
That's right. I had a student at the school that I used to teach. His father died, okay? Something that they inherit. And my student's mother was very angry at the mother of the son that died. And so my student's mother called me. She goes, can you please talk to my mother-in-law? She's just so angry with me all the time. I don't know what to do. I said, of course. I'll be more than happy. So the mother come over my home. I light up a candle, and I listen. And listen is very powerful. And you share, and you pray. And we did that over time. And I just listened to her pain. I share my pain. It was so painful the day I lost my son. It is just unbelievable. It takes you to a different level that you don't want to experience.
Would you say the pain never, what I would call, diminishes, but you're able to move through it? Or does it diminish over time, but you still know it's there in the background?
It's there always.
Okay.
It's there always. What helps me move is the love that we have with my son. We had so much love. Our experience was so powerful. We had a connection.
You had a kind of a very special connection.
We did. Yes. And all that, as time went on, was helping me. Healing, especially putting all this down in words. Writing down all the experience, all the pain, all the joy. And as I come together to realize how powerful love is always there. It's always there.
And you knew that prior to his death, which was, by the way, from an automobile accident, correct?
Yes, and this is what's so weird. That day that my son had that accident, that was going to be his last day at his job. Okay? So his friend forgot his uniform. And he asked my son for the ride. My son said, okay. So they drove on 44 on Big Bend. So when they got back on Big Bend to go to work, a girl was speeding. A girl that I raised in my home. I knew the family very well. They're teachers in Kirkwood. She crushed my son. Yes. And it was the most hurtful experience, such a painful experience when you see your son in that kind of situation and not knowing how to help or what to do. You feel so helpless.
Right.
Because you're the parent.
Right.
You got to make them feel better. Take care of the problem. Yes.
How did your daughters react to all of that?
Very badly. Very badly. Because we're so close. We were on top of the world. Our family was on top of the world. All of us together. And my friends will say, I never seen you children fight. They never did. They never did. Until they got older. Yeah. So, yes, they took it very hard. But as we came together, talking about it, meaningful life, he's always going to be there with us. He's always going to be there. He has come to see us through dreams, through smells, through butterflies.
Explain that.
All right, let me explain that to you. So as I'm teaching the school, and I'm walking on the hallway, carrying my books, I'm going up down the steps, I feel my son smell the lotion that he always wear. And I'm like, wow, this is Andrew. But the peace that comes over you, the peace is something that I cannot tell you because it's a peace of heal. It's a peace, okay, he's here. It's like you feel what you felt before. The happiness, the joyfulness, just for that moment. And I thank God for that. I thank God for that. Another day, so we're in our rooms, and we hear this big knock on the window. And the cross falls to the ground. Those moments, those special moments, we feel peace. Yes.
Wow.
I know. It's very powerful what God can do for you. It's very powerful. Yes.
This is Arnold Stricker with Mark Langston of St. Louis in Tune. We're talking to Maria Holmes about her book, Connections, Making the Most of the Moment. And this book is available in English and in Espanol, so you can get that from Amazon and check that out. You also have a story about your husband.
Yes.
It seems like when things go wrong, they seem to go wrong.
They do. And you know what? I'm so glad you brought that up too. It's not that I like bad stories either. My husband is in a nursing home. I asked God, why? Why me? You do that out of desperation. Okay, you do that because you're like, why is this happening? What are you trying to tell me, God? What are you trying to teach me? Is it because you leave me live? Is it because you gave me that opportunity? Maybe. When I was a child, I was 7 years old, coming home from school with my best friend sitting on a bus. A train hit the school bus and threw me out of the window.
Oh, my gosh.
Yes, with my girlfriend. She died. And I was in a coma. And I had no bones were broken. My hand. My father saved my life because I was dying. I was dying. And the doctors wanted to give me all these medications because they told my father I was going to have all these issues. And my father says, no, she don't need any of those medications. We pray, go to the mountains and pray. Never taking no medications. Why did God let me live? Is it because he was preparing me to deal with this? Maybe. Maybe. To take care of my husband, to take care of my son, and my older daughter that's disabled. I look there, as I look at that, I don't say, oh my gosh, what a burden. No. No. I thank God that I'm able to take care of them.
And when you brought that up, and you said that, many people get bitter at God.
They do.
And they don't think that he is taking care of them, and exactly what you were saying, why me? And I will say this, that many times we have a misperception of who he is and what his purpose is in our life. Because many people will say they use him as a vending machine.
Yes.
And they'll put whatever they want in and expect what they put in to come out. But that's not the case in life, and especially in your life. So how did you avoid being bitter at him, and how did your parents avoid being bitter at him? And all the things that you've been through, your own personal tragedy as a child, the loss of your son, the disabling of your older daughter, the situation with your husband, how do you avoid being bitter at God?
Okay, that's a good question. And as I watched my parents growing up, having my brother Juan with polio at 2 years old is very painful for my parents. And it was a time when the vaccine was coming out. And my father, being a doctor, gave it to us.
Right.
But it killed the nerve of my brother's legs. I also had polio, and so did my mother. But it did not kill our nerves. But I watched my parents take it on my brother. My brother slept in the room with my parents. Okay? And my parents pray a lot. The church was in my home until my father had the church built. Okay? Then I was in the accident. I slept with my parents in the same bed for a year. My brother Juan, there too. As I watched that, as I saw that example, a strong example of dedication with love and gratitude. Because when you are being in the moment, being thankful of the little things, but also caring and nurturing and providing is even stronger. Now that I have experienced so much pain, I get that from my parents, from God, from his love, from the people in my church, for the support that I do have, which is very uplifting. It helps me a lot. And I want those people to know, the people that are hearing me or have a similar situation, find a group, find a team, be united, be hopefully, and always thank God. Pray to God every day because your faith is so strong.
That's really important what you just said, because there are some people who are by themselves, or they feel they're by themselves. And if they don't have a group of family supporting them, or a group of faith-believing people with them who support them, or maybe they don't have neighbors who support them. And in our society today, we seem to be pushing those things away. We move away from family. We don't want to know our neighbors because we don't want to be in their business. Individuals who maybe grew up with faith, have maybe walked away or have never been exposed to that. All of those things are things that kind of hold us together.
Yes.
Through situations like you've been through.
That's right. When I lost my son, my life ended. Part of me died. I have to be honest, part of me died. It was me and my husband. We don't want to continue. So what do? Where do we go? My family took us into their home. My sisters, my brothers. If I didn't have that, I don't know. Then my other family from Colombia took us to Colombia for a while. You have to be with support group. You got to find something. You got to find a person. God put us together to help one another.
Not to be alone.
Not to be alone. That's how we know God is here, through people, through friends, through family. So when we were in Colorado with my sister and her husband's mother and father, the father, he don't pray. He don't go to church until he read my book. He believed. 90 years old.
Wow.
He believed. He goes to church. And the mother wrote me this beautiful note. I have your book next to my night table. Thank you. Thank you. Because of you, my husband prays and goes to church.
Now, I have a question for you that relates to that, because in the book you have a lot of poems, and I don't know if your son was a poet prior to his death, or you were a writer or things like that. Were these things from your journal, or did you just sit down? Because many times writing is a release of emotion, and you can put things together. What was that?
Okay, I tell you. Poetry is my thing.
Okay.
And it was my son, and it was my daughter. My daughter, Angela, was chosen in 2nd grade the best writer of Corpus School Districts.
Wow.
Yes. Growing up at home, my father is all into poetry. He has a lot of books. But he used to make us memorize poetries growing up. And they would have to tell him back to him. Okay? But all the poetry that I wrote in my books are true stuff. My experience. Mm-hmm. It all happened. It's nothing made up. Like, you see this bracelet that I'm wearing? Mm-hmm. You know how many pearls are? 22.
For the years of your son?
My son was 22.
Right.
This is a gift that he had ordered for me for my birthday. You are loved.
Wow.
He was never able to give it to me. All right? I got somebody deliver it to me. This was from your son for your birthday. I sit down and put it into a poetry. Yes.
Wow.
I included my son's writing in this book since he was a little boy until he passed. Because he was going to be a psychologist. He loved humanity. Yes.
And it seems like his friends really loved him.
They did. His friend loved him so much. So where I work at the YMCA, there's many families that knew my son, and they come and tell me. They come and tell me how much they love him and how much I don't talk about his family, how much he loved us. What a good person he was. What a good friend. There was a party right before he passed away, and all his friends were there. There's colored people there, too. So the person that was having the party said, oh, this guy's got to go. He's not invited. And my son went up to him and said, look, if he's not invited, none of us are invited.
There you go.
So they all got to stay. Don't ever be afraid to stand up and speak up.
For what is right.
For what is right. That's right.
Do you have special things that you do on your son's birthday and your son's the date of his death?
Yes, and Christmas.
Okay.
Yeah.
What are some of those things? If
some
you
of the
don't
things,
mind sharing.
No,
them?
that's okay. That's fine. So on his birthday, I will make his favorite food, which is Colombian food. He loved Colombian food. Okay? And on the day of his death, we have all his friends together, and we go to Kirkwood Park. Okay? And then I made this big butterfly. Okay? And all his friends sign it, and they put a message for Andrew. And then we have my students come and sing as a memory. Yes.
Okay.
That's so important. Very important. Yes. Yeah. That's what I like to do.
Okay. Christmas
time, I put the tablecloth, his placemat by his table, by his chair. And then I write a letter to him. Yes, because I know he's in heaven. Mm-hmm. I know he's with God. My son, when he was a little boy, he knew all the books of the Bible. All of them. And he will sit down and watch all the movies. We never told him. He wanted to do it. Watch Jesus' birth, the crucifixion, the resurrection. He would just sit there and watch all those movies. He was really into God's love. Yes.
He was tuned in from an early age.
He was.
I want you to do something that I've never asked anyone to do. Speak to those listeners in Spanish. Give them a message of faith, hope, and love.
Okay. Para las personas que hablan español, lo más importante que les quiero decir sobre su fe, amor, esperanza, es siempre estar en el momento que ustedes tienen para rezarle a Dios, para agradecerle cada día, de lo que tenemos y lo que tuvimos. Lo más importante es tener el amor. El amor siempre, siempre con ustedes.
What did you say in English?
I said to the people that speak Spanish, the most important thing I want to say about hope, faith, and love is to always be in the moment. In the moment. Every memory of what you had and what you have now, to treasure it, to always have it, but most important, with love. Love always there. Can I just close by saying one thing?
Absolutely.
Okay, we just spent Thanksgiving Day, a time to celebrate, a time to write thankful poems, appreciation for one another. Love is what we long for. Grieve for, and by making a quality stronger of ourselves. To keep the spirit in our love alive. In praying, listening to God's spirit. God is always there. God will hear you, and you feel our love, once love. We choose to love even when the relationship is difficult. We choose to believe when at times we feel hopefulness. To help each other through time of hurt, unkind feelings or words. To be in union with one another, to forgive one another. To form our heart because God is near. God is calling each one of us. And you can do that to find joy, celebrating life, your life, by making the most of the moment. Through cooking, games, activities. Connection is the energy that exists between one another. When we feel, we see, we hear, we value strength from relationship. One has a family or friends. Making the most of the moment, building it, making memories. We don't need to spend time disagreeing, hurting one another. That is very unhealthy. What a blessing it will be to wake up in the morning, to come together in the present moment, connecting with one another, making the most of the moment. What an amazing way to improve your physical health, your psychological well-being. We all humans need it. It is essential to every aspect of our life. Connections, friend, such a profound word. Very profound. We don't need to be in isolation or division of anger. Be love, appreciate, cherish and treasure your moment. How to nurture one's relationship with God, with yourself, through the love of God and the power of the Holy Spirit. We love because God loved us first. John 4:16-19.
Amen.
Thank you. Muchas gracias.
We've been talking to Maria Holmes. She's the author of Connections, Making the Most of the Moment. Connections is a journey of love, heartbreak, forgiveness, family, faith, and joy. Maria, I want to thank you for being here today.
Thank you so much.
That's all for this hour. Thank you for joining us. If you've enjoyed this episode, you can listen to additional shows at stlintune.com. Consider leaving a review on Apple Podcasts, Podchaser, or your preferred podcast platform. Your feedback helps us reach more listeners and continue to grow. I want to thank Bob Berthasell for our theme music and co-host Mark Langston. And we thank you for being a part of our community of curious minds. St. Louis in Tune is a production of Motif Media Group and the U.S. Radio Network. Remember to keep seeking, keep learning, walk worthy, and let your light shine. For St. Louis in Tune, I'm Arnold Stricker.